Hey everybody, what's up? Gary Simon here. So today we're going to be talking about how to create subpages based on like a landing page. This is something I don't think I've ever really covered much because I'm always designing the very first page. So somebody asked, requested this in the Discord server, so that's what we're going to be covering today. And I'm going to be showing you how to take this right here. And this is the actual design that I did for Brad Traversy's YouTube channel a couple days ago that he uploaded. Definitely check it out if you want to see how I approached designing this. And basically it was a redesign of a really crappy design. But now, how do we design a page? Like say, for instance, somebody clicks on services. How do we create a design that feels consistent and as though it's the same part of this design? That's going to be the topic of this video, and I'm going to show you within roughly about 25 minutes how to do so. All right, so as always, if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and let's get started. Before we begin, this video is sponsored by Linode. Now, as a front-end developer or a designer, you know that you need a personal portfolio. And if you use a website builder like Wix or Squarespace, they lack total customization and they lock you into using their platform. But to be a pro, you need to use the tools that the pros actually use. So level up, start building your own projects and your own portfolio on an enterprise level content management system like WordPress or Drupal. Now, real web development sometimes requires knowledge of spinning up servers, managing domain names, and setting up an occasional staging environment. And there's no better or simpler way to learn the ins and outs of hosting your website than with Linode Cloud Hosting. Linode Cloud Hosting makes it as easy as possible for you to deploy a WordPress or Drupal website in seconds with a free Linode one-click app marketplace. So click on the very top link here in the YouTube description to get your free Linode account along with $20 of free hosting and all the tools that you need to build enterprise class websites. All right, so here's the project. Again, check the YouTube description here for the actual XD file. I strongly recommend just to follow along as opposed to watching, as always, because simply doing will help bake in that muscle memory when it comes to just designing well. You can sit there and watch, but it doesn't give you as much as well as following. So this is the design, of course, that we created for Brad Traversy's video that I did just yesterday, or 2 days ago rather. And the goal here is to create a seamless transition from one page to another. So we can see up here we have a services page. This is the one we're going to design for. And like I said, we want it to be seamless. We don't want it to feel like a disconnected website or layout when a person goes from this page to that page, and also subsequently from that page to any other page. All right, so it should feel as though it's a part of the same company, the same branding. And the way you do that is to translate what you're doing in terms of typography, your colors, also your spacing and alignment, and just the overall attitude and feel of the project. This right here is pretty serious, a little bit abstract with this road. It wouldn't make sense to make our services page look like it's for a comedy store. So that's what I mean when it comes to the overall tone and the feel. So what we're gonna do is just take this and we will duplicate it. Now, normally if this were a real project, you'd wanna create components out of the header and all that stuff on the nav bar. Anything that's repeatable, that way if you do make a change, you don't have to make them on individual ones. But because this isn't a serious project and it's not pertinent to the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to duplicate everything. So what we're going to do first is just to denote that we're on the current page, we're going to do this, this bold and color change. So I'm going to take this purple and we're going to add it to our color swatches right here by hitting the plus button. And we will go ahead and make that color, and it's also bold. So we'll go ahead and reverse that process, black and regular. All right, so now what we'll do is, this is the services page. So it makes sense to have a title or a label that says services. So we could use this if we wanted to and just say services. That would be fine. But I think I'm going to use this down here. By the way, let me go ahead and just, we'll go ahead and delete everything with exception to this top part. So what I'm going to do instead, I think I like this label down here. It's just going to say services, and we're going to drag this up. And we want a good amount of white space, roughly the same amount from here to there. And ideally, I probably would just paste this in, and that way we'll make sure we're pretty much even there. Just a little bit higher up. And we'll change this to services. All right, so that's our label. It looks really small, right? But people know they're going to services already. So this is kind of like a subtitle or like a sub-label, if you will. What I'm going to do is we'll take this same type right here that's underneath this testimonials, and we'll put not a quote. It won't have like, you know, quotes wrapped around it, but we'll use this same type here to give us a different look, if you will. So what we'll do is I'll say something like, we don't, oh God, not like that. That's like the SpongeBob type. We don't just service, we serve you. Something really cheesy. All right, so let's pull this out all the way. All right, and so this is a headline that really just captures people beyond just putting services or our services. You know, I mean, you have headlines, make use of them, be unique, stand out from your competition. That's more of like a UX ad copy thing though. But I like to throw that stuff in. So we have services. We don't just service, we serve you. This already looks really familiar, right? Based on what's happening down here. So that's what we do. We try to use the same type, the same patterns, some of them that were established here in the homepage. So we can probably also put like a few sentences, essentially, a little small paragraph right here. All right, and so to do that, I think I'll just take one of these down here, or we'll take this one. We'll paste that in. Yeah, maybe like right around there. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it how I want. That looks pretty cool right there. I may change it up. So now we have kind of this empty area here. Now, I mean, we could have just done this. That looks fine to me. I mean, subjectively, that's a subjective thing. I mean, we could have done that. That's fine. I'm going to put a picture of a person. So we're already kind of person-oriented. We have a picture down here. It's a nice professional shot. But I'm going to put maybe a smaller picture just over here, and so we create kind of like a two-column portion of this layout. So I already have a picture picked out, and that is this one. And so I'm going to open that up, and right here, and that's her. All I did was person using phone. I typed that in, and this is the one I found. It's professional, you know. It's a good professional photograph. So we're just going to go ahead and download that, and I believe I already have that downloaded. So we'll go ahead, and what I'll do is before I drag that in, I'm going to first create a container so that we can put it into that container, and we'll just drag it in off the desktop right here. Pro tip, we can double click in here, scale this up, maybe move it around. You don't want our head right at the top. You know, we have white space here. Yes, there's actually white space in photography as well. And I think that looks pretty good right there. All right, so we can also, so we could just do this. You know, we could just put like a photograph here. I mean, we could scale this down slightly, give more white space between this type and itself, and this would work. It's not a big deal. We could play around with it though, graphically. We can add, you know, we can use graphic design in conjunction with this photograph. So one of these graphical elements that you see sometimes in modern designs is we take a circle, we'll make it like a little bit gray, and we will repeat the grid maybe like 5 times, come down maybe like 3. And we'll just like put it like right here. Yeah, it's like a nice little graphical element, if you will. We could also do another thing. We can duplicate this. We'll just make the color white, but then get rid of that. We'll get a border. Maybe we'll make it 4. And then kind of like just an offset, trendy little frame. What we could do is let's put this beneath the title text. Kind of like that. Although I want this kind of in more. It's okay if this goes underneath this because you can still really read the bold U, but it's not really okay if this goes like that because it makes it hard to read this smaller type. So we want the white space between this element and this element. All right, so this looks actually really cool. It's a little bit more modern. It's a little bit more playful. I like it. You could have experiment with the main color. I don't necessarily like that. So it's up to you. A lot of this is subjective. Just mind your fundamentals as always. So now we have this portion here. It's looking pretty good. Maybe we can scale this down just a tad bit. And we can scale this up. Scale this one up. Yeah, somewhere right around there I think is pretty decent. Maybe we'll scale this down that way. Making just fine adjustments. Again, a lot of it is subjective. It's not a big deal. Make sure that the end of this photograph right here is on the end of the column that's basically created by the end of the contact. So it's perfect right there. Because this is like a watermark element, it's very low contrast, it's not type, it can extend beyond that, so it's not a big deal. And again, you could do other things, like you probably could go like this. Maybe move this over here. I just want you to know that you have a lot of options when you're dealing with design. Okay, so we're gonna leave it like that though, and next up, we're actually gonna show the services that they offer. All right, so we'll create a container. Do you have to have a container? No, you don't. But I'm just gonna choose to make one. Maybe we'll push it up here and then maybe down. Maybe something like that, perhaps. Maybe, maybe not. We'll change it if we want later on. And so now in this white container, we could put maybe like 4 different services. All right, so let's go ahead and just let's take this and we'll paste it here, bring it down, scale it down because we don't want it to be the same size. We don't want it to compete with the visual hierarchy. This is the most important element in terms of the type on this page. So it's at the top, it's bold, it's large. This would be secondary, so we're going to make it larger than this type, but not larger than this. All right, so the first thing that we'll say they offer is travel insurance. All right, so let's bring that right around here. And then maybe we'll have a subtitle. So again, we're using the same type. This is Nunito. This one's Source Serif Pro. Just keeping things consistent. We'll say #1 rated for 5 years in a row by some company or whatever that doesn't exist. Okay. Good. Again, we want to scale this down quite a bit in relation because it is a subtitle. Maybe we'll make this like a greenish color. Oop, I hate when that happens. Just grab that, change this. Yeah, right around there will work. We can also take the rest of it, make it a little bit gray, so it really reinforces the difference between these two right here. So that's good. I like that. So now we can go ahead and like take this type, paste it in, and we'll have a little blip about it that will go out here. So this is the same size, I believe, 26 versus 23. Okay, we can come down a little bit more in the size. And one thing I'm looking at now that I don't like, look at the amount of white space between the bottom of this type and the top of this container versus the top of the container and the top of this type right here. Notice there's a little bit less here, but there's a lot here. Those are small things that you should pay attention to. We can either fix that by taking this and going up. And now it's almost even. I didn't do a very good job of eyeballing that. Or we could fix it. Where was it before? Right down here. We could fix it by pushing this down. I think I kind of like that. All right, so we're gonna say this is pretty good. Let's go ahead and put one final thing here. Let's take this type down here with that little line. And we're gonna put it right here. And we're gonna say, learn more. Except this will be an arrow. So we'll take our polygon tool and drag out a circle. I mean, not a circle. You can blame public education for that. This is a triangle. And then make it black. Probably make it a little bit smaller too. Push this over, make it smaller. All right, I like that. So now we can group these. So now what we can do is take all this and we will repeat the grid. All right, so now right here, this type is escaping outside of this column. So if I just drag this over, it'll show you. We don't want that to happen. So we can double click on the original and just bring these in. All right, now that's better. Now we can push this out so it matches. That's pretty solid. All right, so now we can pull this down right here. And there's not enough white space. We want equal amount of white space all around. So we're gonna push this down as well. All right, and then of course take the container and push that down. Equal amount of white space from this area to this area as well. All right, so I'm not gonna bother making those unique with text or type or whatever, but already we could see that this is, it feels like it's part of the same design, the same company. Let's continue on. Let's do like a another section here. Let's duplicate this. And so we'll make this just for now temporarily like a gray. And let's make a section where you can schedule an appointment or something like that. All right, so what we'll do is, in this case, we haven't yet on this page or this page used like a background watermarkish sort of photograph, and we can do that. You can do things that you haven't done on your subpages on your home page that you haven't done there. So you're not restricted to just like, doing only the things that you've done over there. So what we can do is I want to use another photograph that I found from Unsplash, if I can go back and find it. Right here. Yeah, this one's a good photograph. Notice because it has a person using a phone, and this is going to be a schedule, like an appointment, and there's a nice amount of just white space in here. It's like a wall behind them. I like those types of photographs, so let's download that, and I'm going to show in folder if I can find it. 1 second. Show in folder, there we go. And I'm just gonna drag this into that container. Now, what we'll do is we will create yet another title, and that title, 1 second, will just be schedule an appointment. All right, so, or schedule a consultation. So we're gonna use, let's use this one right here. And we'll say schedule a consultation today. All right, so again, mind the white space. There's a certain amount here. We want to have roughly the same amount from here to there. This should be maybe probably slightly larger than the type that's up here. All right, and or maybe not. Let me just leave it the same. We'll see how this ends up looking once we have all the other stuff. We'll also take this, we'll paste it right here, maybe just 2 lines. And I also want to give myself more room in here, so we're going to push him over. So we'll make it large first with Shift and Alt and just dragging up, and then we'll have room to push it over. There we go. Much better. All right, so now let's do a call to action. So we already have one call to action, and that's over here. So let's just copy that. Paste that. I think it's sort of large. It makes sense to be large on the home page in the hero section, but not necessarily down here. It looks too big. So we'll just take this like that. Let's take the type and scale it down. Let's customize it. So it's going to be give me a call. And sometimes it's nice, you don't have to. Again, it's subjective to have a little icon here. So I have an icon already picked out. I like going to iconfinder.com. We can download this, which I already did right there. And so I'll just drag that over here and place it right there. All right, so we want to get this lined up. It's in the center. We'll push this down right here. So there's an equal amount of white space from here to there, from here to there, top, bottom. We got a good amount of white space from here to there, and it all seems nice and equal. I think maybe that's a little bit large. I mean, I want to take that down just a notch. You can also, what's cool with the PNGs is just, you know, change them up like that in terms of the strokes. I think that'll work. Now we can also do just, we can give me a call, or we'll put an or right here, maybe encased in a little circle. Get rid of that. Get our type tool. Or we can make this a little bit larger. Maybe make this not bold. And then we'll get, let's just take this type, duplicate it, put it right over here, and we'll say call us at 1888 whatever. Actually, I'm going to just make this all up. Don't actually call that number because I'm sure it's a real number. All right, and then we will bold the phone number because that's the most important portion of that little text blip. So we'll click here, bold. And we can make this a little bit larger. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'll group this up, maybe move it over. Now, what doesn't make sense is how high this is. We have a lot of white space, so we can move this up. So we have an equal amount from the bottom and the top. That is positioned pretty good right here, and I like that. And so that works. And then finally, maybe there's some extra type at the bottom. Again, we're just reusing the same type elements to really get this going as much as possible. Let's do a plugin here for lorem ipsum. All right, and there we go. I like that. So now what we can do is let's make sure our viewport height is somewhere that makes sense, like 1050. All right, so 1050 there. We'll make it 1050 here as well. All right, and then we'll go to prototype. We'll take home, we'll take services rather. It'll go here. Home here, we'll go back there. And then we'll go ahead and hit play. So now, scroll down. All right, they checked it out. They have an idea, even if it's subconscious, about what your site looks like based on the type, the spacing, the colors, all that good stuff. Then they're going to click on services. And it feels, even though it's a different layout, we have different content, different photographs, it feels like it's the same layout, and it's a consistent design based on everything they've experienced from the previous page. All right, everybody, hopefully you enjoyed that. You learned something new. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.